Uh, what should I watch? What should I watch? ContraPoints? No, it seems like there's some drama lately about ContraPoints.
The West has fallen. Why? Because of like degeneracy, and the evidence of that is often
This
like
is the
suggest like
oh
look
no,
at
this is the video that got okay. Benny. I don't know if I want to watch Leo react to Rosie. What's this?
郵送ライブのステージで私たちの約束を叶えるんだ。アイドルはさ、こんな私にも勇気と元気をくれるんだ。大丈夫、もう迷わないって決めたんだし、私はここでアイドルになる。そう、約束したから。
I like Sumika. She's pretty. What's the latest? Oh no. I know. I want to finish this. Not that.
郵送ライブのステージで
I want to finish
私たちの約束を叶えるんだ。
this one. Why true friendships
healthy.
never
And the
work.
friendship between Ginger, Dodie, and Macy is a really clear example of how that can happen over time.
Let's talk about the roles that people
Alright.
play, specifically in a trio friend group. First, let's talk about the group leader, which I'm going to call the glue, as Tunish will refer to as later. This person, I believe, is usually the one who created the friend group, probably the one who introduced the two other friends to each other, and this person is also very dominant as far as making the decisions of the group, and the main events or main topics usually revolve
Got my Trevi, my water.
So, of course, I believe that this title belongs to Ginger Foutley herself. The next role is what I'm going to call the mediator, or Switzerland, as Macy referred to them as before.
Okay, I don't want to play Sage.
All I can say is we're Switzerland. Well, all I can say is welcome to Loser City.
This is usually the person that the two other friends can hang out with casually without there being unusual chatter about feeling left out. The outing is usually casual, like hanging out at their house or simply grabbing something to eat, and this friend usually gets the emotional baggage of both friends while usually remaining neutral if the other two friends are into it. It doesn't take away that this person has their own personal opinion.
The Prostidium. The Prostidium.
I'm not sure, but I think maybe the reason you called is because you really want to apologize. Well, great. Hold on. Ginger?
But rarely do they ever rock the boat. And this is usually the friend that if you upset them, you know you've crossed the line. And I would give this role to And lastly, just like any friendship, there has to be the socialite. Similar to the group, this friend is usually in drama due to them having a network of other friends that aren't necessarily their best friends. This friend would probably get you in the club for free or even get you behind a DJ if we're talking about friendship. If the other two friends are telling stories about people, this person probably knows exactly who you're talking about without even asking, like, who's that? Because they seem to have an encyclopedia of knowledge on a network of people and events happening around them.
Morning. Susie? Stacy. Oh, sorry. Oh, good morning, Clark. Brenda, Brandon, Tracy, Trixie, and Floyd. Dennis, Stella, Rosie, and
So last but not least, I believe that this falls on Dodie Bishop. And of course, these roles that I literally just made up to intersect between friends. Each friend is not tied down to being one note or boxed into their usual archetype, but let's just say 80 to 90% of the time, this is what you'll get from them.
Ginger is the center of this friend group. She's the one of the other girls rely on to hold everything together. And without her, Dodie and Macy struggle. Ginger naturally falls into that role because she's socially adaptable. She understands herself on a deeper level, for the most part, and she tends to move through situations with a stronger moral compass than the
Oh, I like her mom. Her mom was always very comforting.
Ever. No matter what they are. And no one knows you better than you know yourself. So don't let people try to convince you that you're someone you're not, even if they do have a PhD.
Okay, PhD.
Basically, she's the good. And because of that, both Dodie and Macy grow emotionally attached to her in ways that aren't equal. They both depend on her. Ginger's relationship with Dodie, I believe, is the other dynamic in this trio. And that's not to say it's the healthiest. However, I believe Ginger
We'll
and
handle
Dodie
things
have
from
more in
here.
common as
Take
it
care of the
pertains to
fishing.
needing to fit in and their desire to remain loyal to each other.
I think I sort of gave you the impression I was in with the in crowd, and it turns out she isn't. And I didn't tell you sooner because I wanted to avoid humiliating herself. Thanks, Dodie.
This topic of loyalty comes up very often between the two of them, and I believe that they get into the most predicaments where their loyalty to each other is challenged. In the season 2 episode, Love with the Proper Transfer Student, Ginger encourages Dodie to sign up for the school play in order to become transfer student Joaquin, only for Ginger to develop a crush on Joaquin, signing up for this play as well.
No, I was all ready to be employee number 3. Sorry. I can't pushed me to audition in the first place.
It becomes obvious that Joaquin has mutual feelings for Ginger, and they even share a passionate ceremony that breaks her heart. Even though Ginger would really like to pursue Joaquin, she's owes Dodie some loyalty and doesn't want to lose this friendship.
I sort of got something Dodie really wanted. I thought I didn't want it, but after I thought about it, I realized I probably did want this thing just as badly as she did. I promise you this. If Dodie is as loyal a friend as you think she is, she had to go and use the L word. I think it's pretty obvious I like Joaquin. What is it worth jeopardizing my best friend in the entire world? Because I do care what she thinks.
So she actually ends up cutting it off with Joaquin and chooses Dodie. And even Dodie gets into this in the season 3 episode Kiss Today Goodbye, when Dodie is so desperate to be on the pep squad that she refuses to tell Ginger that she saw her boyfriend Darren with a pep squad member named Simone.
You do know that Darren is just a freshman. Well, he's 17. No, but you are so mature. So, there's something I need to tell you. Darren has spill it, girlfriend, or I'll never teach you another cheer.
When given many opportunities to spit out that she suspects romance between Darren and Simone, Dodie comes up with an excuse every single time. But in the end, she decides that she doesn't want to be the person responsible for delivering this gut-wrenching information to Ginger, writing Darren a letter that he needs to be the one to tell her. Now, I personally felt like this was a cop-out because I think I would tell my best friend if I saw her man flirting with someone, but I also understand that Darren needs to be called out that his flirting is not as subtle as he thinks it is, but I probably feel like I would have just did both. Although Ginger became as it pertained to wanting to fit in with the popular girls at their school, this feeling never went away for Dodie. And we find out in the season 3 episode that this want to be popular is actually generational.
That's Josie McDonald. She was the most popular girl in our middle school. Here's your mother. Missed Popular. She was obsessed with the crowd, with fitting in, being popular. Sometimes she did things that weren't so nice, just to achieve that.
Like what, Dad?
Well, that's not important.
In the earlier seasons, there were so many times Dodie and Ginger would alienate Macy when they felt like she wasn't cool enough. Macy refused to back down in many circumstances to conform to popularity and trends, and really the only time that I can think that she bent to this pressure was when all the girls decided to wear makeup for their school picture. But in the season 1 episode, Come Back Little Seals, Ginger, Dodie, and Macy are excited to continue their BFT, which is a best friend tradition, and perform in the school talent show.
Queen Brooklyn is mad at me because I wouldn't be in her talent show skit. Mad at you? Nobody can get mad when something is a BFT. That's the whole magic of a best friend tradition. I tried to tell her, but she thought I was rejecting
proving to Courtney how important the BFT is, Macy fully committed. But after Ginger and Dodie show Courtney and her best friend,
Why does everyone like
Screaming
this
on
fucking
Miranda, a
boss?
sneak peek of their little Seal Girl
Every
performance,
single
Courtney
fucking day, there's
really
somebody who has to comment on,
so Dodie
oh,
was
it's
able to
short.
convince Macy
Good
that
boy,
Ginger was
short.
something more mature than like this little Seal Girl performance
Like,
even holding a
sure,
ring that
it's
people
cool.
wanted them to switch the performance to
Oh no.
Sorry, Macy. Hello, hello. I thought you were best friend. Tradition. Well, no friend says I. Other friend says they.
and I really hated this scene. I just felt like it was so freaking neat. But now that Ginger and Dodie don't have a third party for their act, their best performance is so in the end, they decided to do curtain pull in case things got performance. The curtain pull actually because Macy won the competition. And I really did admire that they stuck together in the end and didn't completely leave Macy behind because they realized during Macy's performance how important it is to remain true to yourself, even if it's a little cringe.
But Dodie especially clings to Ginger in a way that runs the show, you already know how important this is to her. Writing poetry is something that Ginger enjoys. It's how she processes the world around her and even understands herself. So this opportunity is exciting and personal. It's a dream that Ginger has been working for a very long time.
Sometimes it's just the things that you know are only going to make other people upset. So I'm not talking about it. And they're not talking about it. Because the truth is, I'm dying to go to Avalanche Arts Academy. Avalanche Arts Academy.
Ooh.
Isn't that what you're going to say?
Instead of celebrating that moment for her, Dodie makes it all about herself. She's upset that Ginger would even apply, because in her mind, applying means risking their closeness. And when Ginger gets accepted, Dodie responds with disappointment. She openly says that she doesn't know what she's going to do with herself when Ginger leaves. And that line just shows that her sense of normalcy and identity is tied to Ginger being there. And that's where Dodie's codependency really becomes undeniable. She feels lost at the idea of existing without Ginger.
How did she get in? 5 kids in the whole entire country and they choose Ginger? It doesn't add up. It's not like she invented a cure for the common cold or something. I really expected that my best friend would try to be happy if something great like this actually happened to me. But since that isn't the case, the last thing I intend to do is stand here and try to convince her that I deserve it.
But Macy, on the other hand, gives us a completely different response. Of course, she's sad and she's going to miss Ginger. But at the same time, she supports her friend and wants her to go. She understands what this opportunity means to her, and she chooses to support her instead of holding her back. When Ginger actually leaves, Dodie and Macy try to continue their friendship like everything is normal. They spend time together and try to recreate what they had when Ginger was there. But something feels off. They feel a disconnect that they can't fix no matter how hard they try. And even Courtney steps in during this time because she also misses Ginger. So she starts spending time with Dodie and Macy, almost treating them like a temporary replacement because they're the closest connection to Ginger. And of course, Dodie immediately jumps on this opportunity. To her, this is a chance to get closer to the social status that she's always wanted. And Macy, as expected, follows along with her. But this is where things get really revealing. Because now you have Dodie, Macy, and Courtney all trying to recreate a dynamic that's originally centered around Ginger. And overall, they fail to do so. The bond just isn't natural.
What would Ginger do? She'd probably stretch out on my bed and tell us a funny story or something. My brother Blake almost left the house wearing tweed slacks today. Really? And then what happened? Mama said, oh no!
And even between Dodie and Macy, who are technically still friends, something just feels incomplete. And it becomes even more obvious that what held them together was the shared connection with Ginger. And when you circle back to Dodie's behavior, a lot of it starts to make even more sense when you look look at it through the lens of insecurity. Her need to hold on to Ginger so tightly is rooted in her fear of being replaced or not feeling important. And those insecurities show up in her actions.
Tell me about your experience. So far, so good. The seats could be a little more comfortable, but... I mean, tell me about your experience with boys. Ooh, last summer, she accidentally kicked Stuart Hicks in the garage. The message went back to you, but I...
We see this pattern play out over and over again, but the clearest example comes from the episode with Ginger. This takes place after Ginger returns from art school. Her and Darren officially starts dating, and naturally that changes how Ginger spends her time.
Oh, I gotta move.
Romantic relationship now, so her attention is split.
Oh, honey.
Look like you're here without Darren. Or should we spend a little time together?
Ladies, madame. Oh, don't make that face.
Darren still make an effort to include Dodie and Macy and make sure that nobody feels left out. Because Dodie, that isn't enough. Dodie doesn't want more. She wants to be a priority. She wants to feel like she comes first in Ginger's life, the way that she used to. So she selfishly teams up with Miranda and Mitzi on their plan to sabotage Ginger and Darren's relationship. And she even convinces Macy to go along with it. In this plan, Dodie calls Fred, who is someone Ginger met at the art school, and she leaves a voicemail pretending to be Ginger, saying that she misses him.
Hi, Fred. It's Ginger. That was great! You sounded just...
And this part is but eventually the truth comes out and everything collapses. And what makes this moment so messed up is
Damn.
sabotaging her best friend's relationship feels necessary. It feels like something that she has to do in order to protect her friendship and to restore what she believes is being taken from her. That's how deep her insecurity runs. She's so dependent on Ginger, and at this point, she's so afraid of losing Ginger that she's willing to hurt her to keep her close.
If you're a longtime viewer of this channel, I couldn't help but draw parallels between Daria and Dodie. There was a plotline in the 90s MTV show Daria where Daria's best friend Jane gets a boyfriend. And Daria becomes so hell-bent on making their dynamic miserable because she's afraid that Tom is taking her. This is scarily no different than Dodie gets so upset anytime.
Oh, my ear itches. My ear itches.
Literally telling him to take a hike when he comes into Ginger's room, which is something that he has always done. Dodie even goes as far as asking Darren to convince Ginger to come to just because she can't attend it.
In the old days, Ginger would have never put a party before her being... Ginger!
You know, you say Ginger doesn't care about the BFFs anymore. But what about you? You only care about yourself. And you're missing a party.
Ginger is clearly conflicted about whether or not to go through
Okay,
with it,
that's
but I think
done.
Ginger interprets this conflict as loyalty to Dodie, when in reality, it seems more like she's anticipating Dodie's reaction and trying to manage it before it happens. Ginger knows how intense Dodie can get when she feels left out, so instead of making a decision,
Alright, time for the black
she
mage.
starts censoring Dodie's feelings above everyone else's. Ginger is essentially trying to control the outcome by preemptively accommodating Dodie, putting her needs ahead of Darren, the party itself, and everyone else who's trying to attend. And that's exactly the dynamic Dodie has come to expect.
I want to know what everyone said when they found out that Ginger was canceling the party. I'm not sure Ginger's planning on canceling the party. What? How could she even consider having that party without me? But it feels disloyal to go ahead with the party if my oldest friend wants me to cancel. And what if I just postpone? Darren will understand. Will he? On his birthday, no less? Ginger, a girl must never put the feelings of an overly dramatic girlfriend before the feelings of her loving and doting boyfriend. People might talk.
Even Macy, who's clearly
People might talk. Like what? Talk about her being a lesbian?
In the season 3 episode Fair to Cloud,
She could be a
Ginger
lesbian.
invites Darren to the county fair, which is usually something that Ginger, Dodie, and Macy do together. Dodie invites Courtney, who she's actually very fond of, to sabotage this day because she thought that Courtney was going to make it miserable due to her posh lifestyle. However, Courtney completely falls in love with the county fair, being more involved with the grit of it than everybody else. And this may have been the only time where I kind of sided with Dodie because, like, it's the county fair. That usually goes on for days, if not weeks. So there was absolutely time for Ginger to split between Darren and her best friends, going with Darren one day and then going with Dodie and Macy the next. But I digress. And I can objectively say that Ginger is a better friend to Dodie than Dodie is to Ginger. She has crossed so many boundaries with Ginger that I think would be damning. And unfortunately, the boundaries that she's crossed were either for attention or for her own selfish gain.
Okay, well, see, I placed a call to this guy Fred, pretending to be Ginger.
Sounded just like her, actually. I never thought Dodie was much of an actress, so the surprise was mine.
Anywho, I think he's going to call her back, which should really stir things up between her and Darren.
Thanks, Courtney. I've heard enough.
Macy, that was Ginger. What have we done?
Like in the season 1 episode of Lice and Friends, when Ginger began to feel like she couldn't tell Dodie anything anymore because when she got a job to do the morning announcements, Dodie exposed Ginger's personal business over the intercom because
What is Dodie is such a
Poor Ginger. Embarrassing. Her mother, the lice lady. Ginger, it's a hot story. I can't not report it just because it's about a friend's mother. We're talking about my mother, Dodie.
You should know how I feel about her being the lice wrangler.
Dodie called Courtney a trendsetter, not a fashion maven. Well, you seem to be the only one who doesn't like the way I do my job, Ginger.
But I can't deny that in genuine moments of need, Dodie will be there for Ginger. Like in the season 2 episode TGIF, when Ginger's house gets infested with mold, Dodie doesn't hesitate to allow her family to stay with them. And I personally believe that Ginger and Dodie's relationship is a little closer than it is with Macy because Mrs. Foutley and Mrs. Bishop have somewhat of a relationship too. And, mind you, their little brothers Carl and Hoodsie are also best friends. So there's hardly ever a time where they won't cross paths. This is in contrast with Macy, whose parents are often MIA, so maintaining a relationship with Macy takes a bit more of a conscious, intentional effort. So while yes, Dodie can be loyal, it is completely inconsistent, and her disloyalty is usually reactionary to her emotions. Unfortunately, her public moments of support usually come after she has already caused some kind of harm, like announcing her business over the intercom and exposing Ginger's deepest, darkest secrets to Miranda just because Miranda got in her head that Courtney was trying to become Ginger's best friend.
Looks like best friend behavior to me.
But I know everything about Ginger, starting with her love of smiley-faced pajamas and ending with her irrational fear of the Tooth Fairy. Courtney certainly doesn't know about Frizzy Lizzie's, Ginger's deepest, darkest secret, does she? Ginger would never tell anyone else about her red, hairy legs that her mom won't let her shave.
oh,
I feel like this is a classic case of a friendship being rooted in history rather than realizing the compatibility just might be lacking. So their loyalty feels more like an obligation than a safe friendship worth keeping.
I'm Jewish. Well, 1/4 Jewish to be exact, but isn't it exciting? I'm converting. What?
what?
Don't you see, Macy? Soon there will be a million miles of distance between us and the new Jewish Ginger. Things will never be the same.
We don't need to convert to Judaism, Dodie. We just need to support Ginger while she explores her new heritage. Support.
I can do that.
Okay, girl.
I'm gonna be honest and say that I feel like Ginger and Macy's connection.
This show made me
because Macy
the leftist
is a
that I am
friend
today.
to everyone, and not in a way of like a friend to everybody is a friend to nobody.
Oh no.
Have her moments.
I don't know if that was a good choice, but I guess it was the only choice.
So Ginger's positive view of Macy wouldn't be a feeling that's her own. I think that anyone that crosses paths with Macy would get the same person as someone else. Usually when Mrs. Falcon gives Ginger advice about some type of conflict, Ginger's either in the wrong or her mom is just telling her how to avoid conflict.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys are coming. It's gonna be a blast.
It is going to be fun, right? Well, did I miss something here?
Can you keep a secret?
Dodie seemed to take offense to it because, like I said, Macy is the mediator. She is the emotional anchor of the group and is usually level-headed and rational. So, like I said, if she loses her cool, y'all know y'all done took it way too far.
There's something else you should know about how you got into Avalanche in the first place. Dodie?
What is she talking about?
Ginger. You're good enough to be here, so remember that. You know, Ginger, for someone who didn't care about Plain Ellie, you sure seem kind of naughty. Just an observation.
It was Macy who told Ginger that friends don't have friends keep laughs when they found out that Dodie was exposing people's business over the intercom, even going as far as telling Courtney's medical business too. So that just kind of tells me that if Dodie were to do something that crossed a boundary with Ginger, Macy would absolutely be okay with them severing their friendship ties.
I can't tell Dodie anything anymore. It'll end up in the morning announcements. Where's the friendship in that? Friends don't have friends who blab.
And it was Macy who kept her friends accountable when they tried to steal that sign from the bank.
I really can't believe we haven't worked community service at Golden Gates. I mean, come on. Can it be any less glamorous? Not supposed to be glamorous, Jailbird. Tried to steal the sign. Now you'll have to serve the time.
Because like I said, Macy is the same person through and through in any social circle, and that can sometimes work against her. In the episode The Right Stuff, when some girls plan to expose Courtney at Macy's pool party and threaten Macy not to tell anyone, she vocalizes to her friends, keeping her word, instead finding a loophole to warn them when they plan to report. And I think this is why Ginger often goes to Macy for deep emotional support rather than Dodie. And sometimes Ginger doesn't even go to Macy first. Macy is the one to reach out to Ginger.
How am I supposed to miss Derek when all I can think about is Courtney said it's because Sasha and I had electricity.
Courtney knows? I can't tell Courtney something this big before telling me.
Dodie, please. I really could use your advice right now.
How's it going? Don't tell me.
What do you think?
But if I were you, I'd get down a call.
It was Ginger who was there for Macy when her parents forgot her birthday, and it was Ginger who was there for her when she had a crippling fear for having to watch the puberty video in gym class. Their support for each other goes both ways. It is not just one-sided. And I think that's because they have established trust with one another that's almost impossible to establish with Dodie because of her unique nature.
Miranda's totally bluffing, right? You two are the only ones who know about my frizzy lizzies. And you
Only under threat of torture.
All right, I can't take it anymore. I did it. I told Miranda how you can't shave your awful red hairy leg.
When Ginger gets an opportunity to go to a prestigious art academy, Dodie spirals out of control at the thought of Ginger leaving her, while Macy was a bit more understanding and supportive, accepting that Ginger is evolving.
Dodie, wait.
I chase after her, but my bronchial passages are already a tad constricted. Suppose there's no harm in just making it a brisk walk. This was a big year for Ginger, Dodie.
Macy, stop.
But what's interesting is that Macy doesn't stay in that space for long. Once Dodie continues to express her frustration, Macy slowly begins to mirror that behavior. She's pulled into Dodie's mindset, almost like she doesn't fully trust her own feelings unless they align with Dodie's. And that honestly says a lot about her role in the group. She's more easily influenced and more likely to follow her friend than to stand firm in her own decisions.
To help me cope with the unforeseen trauma of this event, I'll need the help of you, Ginger's closest friends. This is it. This is it. I want you girls to spend as much time around me as I can possibly tolerate to help ease my suffering.
Point me on it, Courtney.
When it comes to Macy and her place in a trio, from my perspective, she's the one who ends up being overlooked the most. She often falls into that third wheel position. And I wouldn't say that it's intentional, she naturally falls there. But when you really look at it, I would say that Ginger has a stronger and more attentive connection with Macy than Dodie does. Ginger is the one who goes out of her way to include Macy and make sure that she feels seen in moments when she could easily disappear into the background.
That rat desk, otherwise known as the school board, slashed the music budget so the football team could enjoy their new stain-resistant uniforms.
Stain-resistant uniforms? Who do these football players
same level of effort just doesn't always show up in the same way. And that doesn't mean that Dodie doesn't care about Macy. It just means that Macy isn't where her emotional focus naturally goes. We can see an example of this in an episode titled Family Therapy. When the girls realize that Macy's parents completely forget her 13th birthday, even though that moment was heartbreaking and it's clear that Macy feels let down, she doesn't respond with anger. Honestly, she doesn't really respond at all. She just accepts it and internalizes it.
Yeah, it's no big deal. After all, 13's just a fancy way of saying 12 is 12 months. Macy, you're being too forgiving. You have to confront your parents. Wouldn't always cross the door. You're their dad. You can't let them treat you like this.
And that reaction says so much about who she is as a person. She's someone who has learned to minimize her own needs. Even in moments where she completely deserves to take up space, she chooses not to. But Ginger doesn't let that happen. So they go to Macy's parents' office, and when the receptionist tells Macy that she has to wait 10 weeks just to talk to her own parents, Ginger immediately steps in. She marches into the office and she confronts Macy's parents herself. Ginger saw that Macy couldn't advocate for herself, so she stepped in to do it for her. And even after Macy's parents realized their mistake and tried to fix it by throwing some out-of-touch birthday party, treating Macy like a little kid instead of a 13-year-old girl, Ginger again speaks up because she understands that Macy deserves more than just being acknowledged. She deserves to be understood.
I've really appreciated everything you've done, but you've already butted once. Don't need to do it again. I'm doing you a favor. One friend's favor is another friend's fault. They're treating you like you're 4 years old. You're 14, Macy. You should have a real party. How my parents treat me is none of your B.I. business. The Tiny Tot Petting Zoo party is on. Whether or not you get an invitation is another matter. It's time to leave. I think she really meant that.
But meanwhile, Dodie is there, but she's mostly on the sidelines. She's present, but she's not really engaging in the same way as Ginger. She doesn't really ever step in or advocate for Macy in the way that Ginger does. And again, that doesn't mean that Dodie doesn't care, but it does highlight a difference in priority.
There is no denying the bond between Dodie and Macy. They have shared many moments of joy, support, changes, and excitement together that literally define their friendship.
This is gonna be like when the little seal girl was swept away in the Straits of Gibraltar and consequently separated from her herd.
Yes, but she returned a richer, more well-rounded, exotic seal girl for it.
I can't expect you guys to fight my battles forever. I mean, are you gonna follow me to college and through my graduate work if I'm so inclined?
Maybe. The important thing to keep in mind is that nothing is going to tear us apart.
I can acknowledge that their bond exists, but it is not a balanced one. The difference between the glue and the socialite, aka Ginger and Dodie, is that the glue's job is to maintain relationships of both friends. The socialite doesn't necessarily have that particular responsibility. They just have to be friends.
You're hoping that we can fill Ginger's shoes.
And we're hoping that you can fill Ginger's shoes.
But the truth is, none of us can fill Ginger's shoes. Which are
Size 7.5, I know.
So for a lack of better ways to say this, I believe that Dodie and Macy's dynamic is a prime example of the secondary friends having to scramble to maintain balance without their group leader. For Dodie, Ginger could be any person she views as superior and can be replaced at any moment.
You're hanging out with me now. It's nothing personal, but a popular girl needs a doting sidekick. Yeah, ground rules. No giggling, no talking except to compliment me for my fashion choices, and no Hope Rogers. Found it? Got it.
While for Macy, Ginger is genuinely her longtime friend since kindergarten, who she values to keep and support in her life. When Ginger is gone, Dodie and Macy don't naturally become stronger as a duo. Instead, their differences kind of get more obvious. The reason why Dodie isn't the group leader is because she's too easily influenced by those she views as superior. And Macy also just easily fits into that support role. So without Ginger there to guide them, the Dodie-Macy friendship structure kind of starts to unravel.
Ginger's become courtly. Out of Ginger's courtly. Who am I?
You're Macy.
Oh, am I? Not Ginger is Ginger. I could be anyone or no one.
For example, in the Far From Home special, when Ginger has the opportunity to go to the Avalanche Arts Academy Instead of focusing on what Dodie and Macy could be doing in the meantime to build their friendship and their bond, their time is spent fixating on Dodie's intense emotions about Ginger leaving and placing expectations on Ginger to maintain their friendship while they're away.
We've been inseparable all these years, and now separation anxiety. I already packed tons of pictures and stationery, and I'm gonna write every single day and call twice a day.
I do like that it's shown that from time to time, Dodie and Macy actually hang out alone without Ginger. And usually during these hangouts, it's Dodie who calls Ginger. And I also find it interesting that they don't hang out at Macy's house, like it's always at Dodie's house for some reason. Because like I said, Macy is a friend to everyone. So as much as Dodie can be wishy-washy, I think that both Ginger and Dodie know that Macy is solid. However, Macy does where she gets caught up in Dodie's mess and even sometimes Ginger's. When Ginger can't make it to her boyfriend David's football game because she wants attention, Macy suggests that she should get someone to disguise himself as Ginger that she's at the game, quote unquote.
Oh, I'll do it! I'll do it like Ginger. I'll just wear my Ginger wig. Here I was Ginger wig, little copper collar pony.
It took me a while to realize that you wanted to be it.
And this whole thing was unnecessary because she literally could have just told Ginger she has attention. And in an episode that I've actually covered on this channel titled Next Question, where Ginger shows a crush on her teacher, Macy was tagging along in their shenanigans to stalk this teacher and even getting hurt in the process.
Macy, what happened?
Oh, you know, recreational concerts. It was kind of a rollerblading accident with a retired cafeteria worker. I want a confrontation turned ugly.
Next time I get in trouble, I know who to call, huh, Ginger?
Dodie does end up apologizing for giving Ginger the delusions that her and the teacher could be together, but Macy was just as excited as Dodie at the thought of Ginger having a crush on the teacher that her proper judgment was just kind of switched off. Macy takes on the emotional baggage of Ginger and Dodie and usually takes the side of whoever she feels.
We need to find Darren, so someone will stop being mad at me. Don't forget what I'm going to do. Fine.
And I feel like this is misleading when it comes to Ginger and Dodie, whether it be intentional or unintentional, but due to her being a child and frequently being neglected by her parents, I think that she kind of adjusts well to being left out and sometimes doesn't even recognize that she's being excluded. Because if they treated Dodie the way that they treat Macy sometimes, Dodie would absolutely throw a fit.
Ginger leans into Macy when she needs support, but Dodie doesn't instinctively move in that same direction. And that difference matters because it shapes how Macy exists within this friendship. Dodie has a much stronger emotional grip on her friendship with Ginger than she does with Macy. There's urgency when it comes to Ginger. She's not completely excluded, but she's also not as similar to Dodie and Ginger. And when you combine that with who Macy is as a person, it becomes even more clear why she's slipped into that role so often. Macy is extremely passive. She's anxious, agreeable, and avoids conflict whenever possible. A lot of the time, she often goes along with whatever is happening around her, even if it doesn't fully fit right in. And over time, that kind of behavior makes it easier for them. And that creates imbalance because typically in a trio, if one person isn't taking up space, the other two naturally will. You can see this clearly in the Far From Home special. When Ginger gets accepted into the
Alright, let's do
is initially very
normal
nervous.
raid.
She's sad that her friend is leaving, but she's genuinely happy for her. She understands what this means for Ginger and she supports her. But as I stated earlier, once Dodie starts to express her frustration, Macy begins to shift. She absorbs Dodie's energy and she starts to align with her, even though that wasn't her original stance. And that shift speaks to how often and easily influenced she is when someone more dominant in the friendship takes lead.
I cannot stress enough the absolute magic a good concealer can work. Take, for example, the swollen hive on Macy's lip. Once a hideous, disfiguring pustule, now next to invisible.
Thanks to Dodie, my little Angora allergy is nobody's business but my own.
I overheard Miranda and Courtney say that Darren would be spending a lot less time hanging out with me, and they hope I don't take it too hard.
Take it too hard. You wouldn't do that. Yes, she would, Macy. I stand corrected.
That pattern shows up again in Wicked Game when Macy gets pulled into the plan to sabotage Ginger and Darren's relationship. And that is the danger of being so passive. Macy lacks boundaries. And without strong boundaries, she becomes someone who can be guided into decisions that don't truly reflect her character. And when Ginger isn't around, that dynamic becomes even more likely. Dodie naturally takes lead and Macy follows. And that's really harmful because, as we know from Dodie, she doesn't make the best decisions. And with Ginger being gone, there's no one there to interrupt that pattern.
Mrs. Fowley made a great point about Ginger being emotionally aware of everyone's feelings, and this is something that I think Dodie and Macy lack in different ways. Ginger is able to show up for Dodie and Macy in moments of need at full capacity. However, due to Dodie's innate selfishness and Macy's ongoing lack of emotional awareness, they can sometimes come off as insensitive. For example, when Ginger's appendix literally ruptured, the girls decided to leave her alone instead of staying to comfort her after she said she felt like her insides exploded, assuming that she was just wallowing in her sadness over her breakup with Darren. But it wasn't until Mrs. Fowley checked in on her later that she realized Ginger was experiencing some serious physical symptoms, not emotional distress.
Don't look so scared, Dodie. I'm okay.
Did you almost die?
Dr. Dave said I was very lucky.
So, do you have a big scar?
It's still under bandages. I haven't seen it yet, but Dave said it's low enough down.
I think this episode is one of the reasons why I am so scared of my appendix bursting. I remember watching this one as a kid and being like, and I also remember as a kid being so scared that my appendix was gonna burst. Oh God, I don't remember how to do this. Starboard, larboard. I don't know what that means.
With Dodie, Ginger provides reassurance. She listens to her, tries to understand her, and even when Dodie's behavior becomes overwhelmingly selfish, Ginger doesn't immediately abandon her. She calls her out when she needs to, but she also works through the problems with her.
You guys believe me, right? The poem is just a poem. I wrote it for the contest.
Sure, Ginger. You betcha. Only, if you ever did want to go away, like the girl in your story, we just hope that you'd tell us.
BFFs, you know? You guys, I am not. I repeat, I am not depressed.
You can see that especially when she's leaving to go to the art school. She takes time to comfort Dodie and reminds her that their relationship isn't disappearing just because she's going to be gone for a semester. She tries to ease that fear even when Dodie isn't responding in the most healthiest way. And with Macy, Ginger provides protection. She notices when Macy is being overlooked, when she's speaking up, and Ginger naturally tries to pull her back into the light. She gives Macy space to be heard, and when Ginger notices that Macy can't speak up on her own, she steps in and does it for her. She's balancing two completely different emotional needs at the same time. She's managing Dodie's intensity and insecurity, while also nurturing Macy's quietness and lack of assertiveness. And she does it so consistently that it almost becomes invisible.
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh, he turned around though. God damn it.
But you're really still Ginger and not Courtney. The thing of it is, we really miss you. I'm sorry. Duty calls. Bye-bye. What'd she say? Ginger misses us.
Did Ginger say that? Or did Courtney?
Courtney.
No!
Ginger is the main person
Oh.
keeping everything from falling
That guy
apart.
passed away.
Everyone feels connected. She's the one holding on to the emotional weight of the group. And when she's removed from that position, even temporarily, like she was when she left for a semester, everything starts to unravel.
After analyzing the different dynamics in this group, I'm gonna say something and
We gotta kill the rocket punches, don't we?
Ginger and Macy can absolutely be friends with each other without Dodie. But Ginger and Dodie would absolutely not survive as a duo, and neither would Dodie and Macy. Ginger's role in this group was just too important, then right before I was. Dodie, however, seems to function as a floater in this trio. Once they got to high school, Dodie seems to be so determined to get on the pep squad that her loyalty to her friends started to change, just so that she could fit
The one
and honestly,
that I did not hit.
friendship, like the Bradley becomes way more clicked up than middle school. Peer pressure is at an all-time high, and some friendships even don't hold up under that pressure. Ginger gets into a relationship which pulls her time away from her best friends, and Dodie starts chasing popularity. But even with Macy having a boyfriend and even being involved with band, she never wavers when it comes to her loyalty or the time that she spends with her
What do I
friends.
do with this?
If you saw Daisy flirting with someone who was not that someone from then it was his eye on the dog. I thought you broke up when he was I'm considering setting an episode to deliver the news. Maybe Andrew will think I'm immature and he'll break up with me before I break up with him.
And that just is what it is. Some friendships adjust well to these shifts, and some friendships don't.
So back to the topic of trio friendships going. When we look at Ginger, Dodie, and Macy, it's clear that their dynamic has a lot of issues. The imbalance, insecurity, codependency. It all shows up in ways that creates real tension in their friendship. And over time, those things do affect how they treat each other. Especially when it comes to Macy being overlooked and kind of treated like a third wheel. Because even though they all do care about each other, the way that they show up in this friendship isn't always equal. And when that goes
I don't know.
it can easily cause a breakdown in the group.
I guess this is what I'm supposed to do.
And do you know, when I tried to pass their notes in algebra class, I only got one pep squad layer in. Who does that over there? It's useless, I tell you. They're like a human artichoke. Girls like that gotta be direct.
Oh,
But
I'm already in fire. Why am I doing that?
Friendship is that it doesn't actually fall apart. And as told by Ginger finale, we see that Dodie and Macy, now adults, are both there for them to save them. And that moment shows that despite everything they went through, their friendship didn't dissolve.
I'm gonna guess this means get out of the way.
But overall, my hope is that somewhere between everything they went through as kids and where they end up as young adults, that they actually took the time to reflect on the way they treat each other. That they learned how to manage their insecurities, but that also know her friendships. That Macy learned how to speak up for herself and not just go along with whatever is happening around her. And that Ginger learned that she doesn't have to carry the responsibility of holding everything together. Because for a trio like this to truly work in a healthy way, all three people have to be secure in themselves first. They have to be able to show up as healthy individuals, not just as the roles that they've fallen into.
Oh, I thought it was gonna move us.
Are you sure that's a good idea? You need to find the group. And you know groups. They have a way of turning on you when you do that.
And most importantly, they have to value each other equally. Because without that, the same cycle will continue. And in the long run, the trio will never work.
Sorry.
I hate this game.
At least we know where we stand. One smack ding dong dab in the middle of winter. Sleep over at my place tomorrow night? Sure.
I'm not saying it's impossible for a trio couple to be all in your lifetime. I think like any relationship, platonic, romantic, or familial, there are going to be ups and downs, some hurt feelings, and in the worst cases, betrayal. But the key is that all parties actively choose each other in the end. Not just one person constantly choosing the others, not something that's one-sided, but all of them deciding that no matter what happens, we are going to stick together. And that's the beauty of Macy, Dodie, and Ginger's friendship. They continuously choose each other even with the outside pressures and situations that try to tear them apart.
We're BFFs. Derek's sort of an honorary BFF.
I think this little oversight is a perfect example of what we in the high school trade call kids. Change is a good thing. That's what growing up is all about.
I'm tired of fighting the inevitable, Darren. Things are blowing us all in different directions, and there's nothing I can do but roll with it.
But what do you guys think? Do trio friendships fall apart because people change, or do people just stop choosing? And of course,
Girl, I don't even fucking know. I hope he says. Well, I liked that video. That was good.
and be sure to hit the notification bell. But for now, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Well, I liked that video. That was a very good discussion. Let's see. Oh, get me the fuck out of here. I don't want any of this shit. I don't want none of that shit. Let's look at a Princess Peach deep dive.
Hello, this is Flurry Moon. Welcome back to my channel. When I
Maybe
was a little
not.
girl,
Maybe
there
not.
was only one.
Did the journal factory explode?
You all, I have a new favorite phrase. And unfortunately for me, this is the current sentiment of the internet. So I guess we're all out of luck. That's it. That's my intro. Hey, I'm Amanda. I'm professionally curious and I talk for a living, and you're watching Small Entertainment, the channel where I tell you about whatever I'm obsessed with.
All right, done with that.
And today we are talking
Now
about
for the actual game.
Did the journal factory explode? This is my new favorite.
Fishing.
There's a lot of different stories that we're going to talk about within this umbrella, because I do think that so many
Let's
of the things
see.
we're going to talk about would be
What is available for me to do?
someone was journaling, engaging offline, had a group chat to discuss things in, okay? Some perspective on a situation. And unfortunately, in the current day, everything is very public.
Bent Branch
Okay,
Meadows.
everything is recorded. There's a lot of talk of, Gen Z being, extremely awkward and anxious for any perceived slight or anything like that, because they know that 3-second interaction can end up ruining their lives. We see this daily. We see this with celebrities. We see this with content creators. We see this with authors. We're going to talk about that in a second. And I don't think any of the instances that I'm going to talk about in this video happen in a vacuum, because nothing does, especially on the internet, especially now. It's all connected. Okay. I'm serious though. The things that I'm going to talk about, these are instances that you could argue could be their own videos. One of these topics I was going to make a dedicated.
We need a honeyworm.
Out of it, and I do feel more comfortable including him in
Do I have a
this
honeyworm?
topic, because this topic, one, it does fall under
do.
that, but also I feel
Oh,
less
I'm going the
like
wrong way.
dogpiling on the situation, because a lot of people are talking about him. There is a lot to talk about, and I do have a lot of feelings on it. I think there's a lot of parasocial discussions that we can have with all of these stories that we're going to talk about as well. And I'm sure when this video comes out, there will be another 3 that have been discussed. But really quick, let me take a second to tell you about the sponsor for today's video, Rosetta Stone. As you can see from
Okay,
the rest of the
Rosetta
video,
Stone. Get your coins swell.
and I am so glad that I have been using Rosetta Stone, because
Well, I don't know about that one.
than I was last time I went. Rosetta Stone is
What's
a
your
language learning
opinion?
app that helps you actually use a new language in
Okay.
real life, not just memorizing words. They use
Is
a
this the
dynamic
correct area?
immersion method, immersing you in your target language from the start.
I think I
Learning
need
context, visuals, and
Evershade.
repetitions, just like how you learned your first language. I'm really interested in this personally, because I'm not just trying to learn Japanese. I'm really into how learning a new language in adulthood can be great for your brain, and this helps make it feel more natural and intuitive over time.
It's a
I especially
little.
love how their true accent speech recognition is done with native speakers. It doesn't just give you instant feedback on pronunciation. You're practicing alongside real speakers, training your ears and your voice
All right.
at the same time. For intention of traveling back to Japan, in
We're
the
looking
future, I
for
have
the
a
green
fluency by then. And Rosetta Stone
jelly
is helping you do
something.
that. If you've been thinking of learning a new language, whether for more meaningful solo
Like a
travel or as a new
seat.
hobby, get started with Rosetta Stone today. You can get my exclusive discount by clicking the link in the description box or scanning the QR code on screen, and get started in any of their 25 plus languages. Arigato gozaimasu to Rosetta Stone for sponsoring this video.
Okay, she said arigato gozaimasu. Okay, girl. Arigato to you too.
Did the journal factory explode? So we have this video here.
I don't want
from
this.
Jason,
Get this
and
fish out of
this
my
is a
face.
comment on someone else's video from Bookish Polly. Funny enough, this is a bookish account making this comment, because it's going to be relevant later. I have never dated and/or loved LOL. And Tris7 said,
I just
"Did
need
the
this
journal
one.
factory explode?"
Let's break this down, right? So basically what this guy is saying is that, like, you need a personal diary and you shouldn't be sharing this shit on the internet. You can use this in, like, real human conversation. So if someone says something that's like, I don't need to know that, you just say, did the journal factory explode?
I don't know if Chris is the one that made the initial video. I don't know what the initial video was.
Not sure how I feel about this trend.
I'm sure this video will go into it more, but this is my favorite line. Did the journal factory explode? And it's something that I will be utilizing more, because it's something as well that I've discussed of I'm not going to be coddling grown adults. I think it's also, this falls under the bean soup, the context collapse of things. I like waffles. Oh, so you hate pancakes. I have
What?
coffee in the garden with my husband every morning. It's a nice little thing. Not all of us have a garden. Some of us are broke and can't have coffee in the morning. Married? Okay, I'm allergic to love. How dare you? Did the Journal Factory explode? Like, it's so good. Me encouraging y'all to, you know, try solo traveling within your means. Try small. Start small. To not wait on others to live your life. A lot of you are really upset about that video. And that's fine. You're allowed to be upset. I put that on the internet. I know not everything's going to be well received. In that one, it's not like a big serious issue. That one was just kind of, I was like, okay, sure. The bean soup, for those of you that missed it, was, that have never heard me reference that. Bean soup is a reference to a recipe video that a woman made for when a woman is on her period, okay? And it's a soup that is a bean soup that is like super dense and, you know, high in iron, because sometimes when you are on your period, you're losing blood-like material. It's not quite blood, but like you get my point. And, you know, that can affect the rest of your body. And so this is something to help replenish that while you are on your period. And so she did then a follow-up video answering questions from the comments. And one of the questions that she finally
Okay, after
was,
this,
what if I don't
I think I'm gonna go try
and bless her heart,
Lemon
she
Light.
tried to answer that. Because if you don't like beans, the answer
Is this not Lemon Light?
that recipe. Oh, I don't like beans. What if I
Ever
don't like
shade.
beans? Then you scroll along. Did the Journal Factory explode? Unfortunately, does fall into that. Let me give you an example, okay? Because I'm someone I don't date. Okay.
Oopsie
really I'm
pond.
not into it right now, and I have my own reasons and feelings for that.
Oh,
And
I guess I
also,
haven't
you know,
found
come from a
this.
family of divorce, a very messy
I'm in the
divorce,
wrong
okay?
place. I'm in the
Instance where, you know,
wrong
I
place,
have
ladies.
friends that a lot of them are getting married, and I'm very
Where the
happy for
fuck
them
is
that
Hope
they get
Seed
married,
Pond?
okay? Now imagine if I'm scrolling TikTok and I see someone getting engaged, and I comment,
Is it up here?
she's going to leave him. He's going
Must be
to leave her.
this.
You're destined to be miserable. How dare you? You know what I do if I see something
These
I don't agree
fucking
with
monsters
relationship
here?
content-wise
Oh my
now?
god.
I scroll away. Now, there is also the element, okay, of the my husband sucks content. I've talked about this a lot. There's a video from last year, bad relationship content. This triggered a lot of angry emails. I talked about the concept of sharing about your partner doing something shitty to the internet for whatever reason, and people saying, girl, leave him, and inevitably they don't. We get a follow-up video about, you don't know our relationship. It's like, okay, well, we didn't know your relationship. I don't know you. You posted this video for whatever reason, and you got a response that was likely of, hey, this is insane. In some instances, these videos, they include, I don't know what to do, or whatever. They wanted attention for some reason, because that's why you post things on social media. I want you to engage with this video. I'm posting it. You wanted attention, okay, for whatever reason. You felt you had something to say. You felt you had something to share. You felt you had something to impart or educate people on. That's why you posted something. And then people respond how they respond, okay, and then you don't agree. Something I've seen in the last 6 months is a change in those comments. It's not, girl, leave him. It's, don't share this with us if you're not going to leave him. One was Butter Dish. The Butter Dish. Around Christmas time, there was a video that was posted where she said, on day 3 of silence, because I bought my boyfriend an Xbox for Christmas, or husband. It may have been husband. Husband or boyfriend. They live together. And he bought me a Butter Dish. One of the comments was, let me guess, you love him. We don't know your relationship. And despite this, you're not going to leave him. And I think the girl replied, well, yeah, I'm not going to leave him. It's like, okay, why did you bring us this way? And it also changed to people being like, well, obviously he bought you a Butter Dish because you're a Butter Dish girl because you're staying. You brought us into your relationship because you shared this. Now we're dealing with this response. You know, that's what happens. The answer here was, again, did the Journal Factory explode? Because I'm not going to sit here and say, let's go to therapy. I am in therapy. But I understand in the current climate, a lot of people don't have jobs. You may not have therapy. We do have options, okay? But like, I understand. There's this other thing as well for did the Journal Factory explode? That I think is also something that a lot of people forget in that concept as well, okay? Which is when you put things on the internet, they can go away from you. When you share things on the internet, they can be there forever. They are permanent.
I think this is my last catch in this pond.
Or bring it back to you. And as someone that overshares,
No green.
one day will be titled Adventures in Overshare.
No green fish for me. The time is about to leave in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And even in that moment,
And it's
I was like, I don't
gone.
want to bring
It looks like that
feeling
fish, though.
relevant. It's something that I can bring up, and I share that experience of someone putting their hands around my neck and assaulting me physically, not sexually. I shared that story because it was relevant, okay, and I forgot about it because it was a part of my life. In
Okay,
that
let's go to
instance,
11
I very
light.
much knew what I was sharing. Okay, this is what happens when you don't have a script. I didn't complete this thought. I brought this up in this video because I was trying to make a point about how 2 years later, in 2018, is when I made that video and I shared that detail. And now I've talked about it a much more, so this is past this point. But I forgot that I had done that. And then in 2020, when my channel took off and I started getting requests for interviews for podcasts and things like that, I had someone bring up the fact that I had been assaulted. And it was something I'd completely forgotten that I had shared. And it was very jarring in the moment, and I was in a place that I was not healed as I am now, and it was very jarring and traumatic to have that brought back up. Now, this person didn't mean it in a negative way. They were talking about how I, share parts of my life into videos, and I'm not 22 anymore, okay, but at the time I was, and I was not in therapy yet, and it was very jarring in that moment. And that is also a reality when you share things on the internet, is that you might be confronted with it later. For a lot of people, traumatic experiences, especially whether you're in therapy or your time has passed, you are in healing, whatever, trauma becomes daily realities, or trauma becomes just a part of your personal history, okay? And that's something that happened with me. I've been no contact for a decade, okay? Fun fact, that last video, the solo travel video, it's this week as I'm recording this, that video made my abuser contact me. If you're watching this one too, fuck off. It's a fact of my life. It doesn't affect me in the same way that it does. I've done a lot of healing. I've done a lot of work, okay? And so there are times where I share something in a conversation that for me is just a part of my history. It's just a part of my life. But to people who weren't around me at that time or weren't there, that is a very traumatic statement to hear. And yes, it was traumatic growing up, but I've learned to live with it.
No, I don't want these fucking baby fish. Give me my big old fish, please. Get out of here, mitten crab.
Sharing the worms. It was me and my friend Anarchy, because there would be times where I would reference something and she would just go like this, because I rocked her world somehow, okay? Because I had shared something and I was like, what's going on? And she was like, what the fuck? Because it's for me, it was normal. And for her, who, it wasn't.
I'm not doing this fate.
It was a horrifying realization that someone that she knew, that she thinks is well-adjusted, had gone through.
Oh.
So we call it sharing the worms, okay? And now
We got a bite.
to share something that might be traumatic, we say, hey guys,
I think we got it.
why do we call it sharing the worms? Because for me, again, it's just a fact of my life. It's something that
Poggies, Poggeroni macaroni, complete.
Okay.
All right.
Not subconsciously, because
Well, our next bite is in 3 minutes in Lanosha, an ale port.
And we call it sharing the worms because you throw it into a conversation the way that a toddler shows you the worms that they keep in their pocket. Because a toddler with a lot of pockets, why wouldn't they have worms in their pockets? They're gonna put things in them, and they found worms, so why wouldn't there be worms?
That's definitely an analogy or a metaphor, but
Lots of pockets, because you're talking about pockets. Toddler then shows you the worms in their pocket. Now toddler toddles off because it's a toddler, but now you, the other person, has to deal with the pile of worms that is now in front of you. And so that's why we call it sharing the worms, because whether intentionally or unintentionally, you have now just, put this onto another person or shared this with another person. Now,
why don't you just say trauma dumping, though?
Place for this. There's people for this. I do think lockdown, for a myriad of reasons, has made a lot of things worse. Let me reworkshop that for a second. Include this, William. But
This is Sepspa spawning grounds.
But also, I was on Tumblr. I grit so much of my teeth on Tumblr, but that was so private. Your face wasn't attached to that the way that it is in the comment sections of a TikTok. There was a level of removability and a level of correctness.
Okay, here we are. I need my steel jig.
I like this character because my parents are divorced. And It's like, okay, hey, so that's
Where are you?
that's not for here. That's not what the space
Here
is
you go.
for. And so you correct that without your face attached and your name attached. But now it's like everything's attached and it's public. This is gonna sound like a fucking tangent, but like I don't think some people realize the emotional labor that can put onto other people. It's something that I've had to work on. It's why I now disclose if I'm going to share something that I think could be even vaguely traumatic for someone else to hear.
That's a scary monster. That's a scary monster. Sapsa Elbst. That's a bunch of, that is a bunch of consonants altogether. Elbst. Elbst.
You know, the worst parts of
Okay.
my experience.
That is a scary monster.
And so we were laughing about a
I don't
couple
want
of different
this.
things because there was something, again, relevant conversation. For us, it's the reality. It's this wacky parent.
Actually, I wonder if I catch one of those now, can I mooch, start the mooch right when the node starts?
And yes, these were me crying at school, but I was at the point where I was just like, yeah, I'm pissed off now. Now I'm over it. Now it's funny because what are you doing? You're an adult, you know? We were telling this and we're joking, and all of a sudden I feel a touch on my arm, and I get turned around, and it's my friend's mom, and she's crying, and she puts her arms around me, and she holds me.
Oh shit, I put it on my release list.
That is not how mothers are supposed to talk to their children. That is not something mothers are supposed to do. And that, I'm looking at my friend, and she's like, you know, and I'm like, thank you, I understand, I'm okay, I'm not, but like, I'm okay. It was a real world example of, yeah, hey, this horrifying thing that I have now rationalized as being my normal is fucking traumatic for other people, okay? And unfortunately, that's something that instance,
This scary monster.
I don't wish anyone to have to go through that, but it's something that unfortunately, when
Girl, what that mouth do?
makes it so
What that
you
mouth
think it's
do?
okay to
Okay, let me hold on to this.
and share these things, traumatic, horrifying, otherwise.
Is it gonna go away? I don't think
To
so.
a stranger on the internet. Just last night, as I'm recording this, we were live on stream and we were watching a video from another YouTuber, okay? I'm not disclosing who this person was, but if you go watch the stream, you'll see who it is. But we were watching them about something that is happening in the news right now. And we were looking on, because someone in chat was like, oh, so-and-so made a video about this too, you know? So we were reacting to it and pausing and discussing and things like that. And someone in chat said,
Okay.
I don't trust this because this is a so-and-so video. And I paused and I said, why? Okay. And I said, because if it's a factual thing, like this person, this woman creator, has factually been incorrect or whatever, then sure, like we can totally, let's discuss it. And then I get it. However, this is someone who is openly in this video, literally discussing anecdotes from articles that she was showing on screen. And I mean like numerous articles about these instances. Clearly not pulling things out of thin air, especially the segment we were watching was let's go through the facts and was openly going through these articles but in different cases of this incident. What the fuck are we talking about then? And I was like, if this is just because you don't like this woman for whatever reason, which you are allowed to do, you are allowed to not like everyone, that's fine, then that's one thing and that's not relevant here. Because it's not. And sure enough, because a couple other people chimed in, like, oh, like, this is why I keep her at arm's length, whatever, okay? For whatever reason, okay? I was like, yeah, a lot of that just sounds like a lot of misogyny that's, like, thinly veiled with the internet. Sure enough, this person then said, yeah, it's, like, personal things or whatever. Like, I'm taking it out on this person or whatever. And I'm, like, openly admitted that. And I was like, okay, cool. This is not the place for that. You having problems with women in academia, that is not the problem of this chat. That is not the problem of this YouTuber. And then they said, yeah, I'm just going through a lot right now and I'm externalizing it in chat. And my mods immediately leapt on that and was like, okay, no, this is not the place for that. Amanda is not your friend. I'm not going to let someone just insult women or criticize a woman for the sake of the fact that they're having a bad fucking day. That's not the point here. You know, we're not doing that. And again, did the journal factory explode? What we were talking about, there was zero relevance to that whatsoever. And there's a lot of instances that I feel like, did the journal factory explode? It's not necessarily trauma dumping. It's
This phrase is just a little strange to me.
This thought, and also, this is not fair to the person that you were.
I'm just like a boomer now.
Catastrophe.
Oh.
You may have perked up as I said that name, and
Yes, I did.
And I decided against it. I was going to make a video because I felt the content was very concerning, mainly because as someone that is a creator, the way that Tyler talks about Wilbur Soot, who is a disgraced YouTuber, I guess you could argue, not someone I like, but also a musician. Tyler was focusing in on the musician part and also a YouTube part or whatever. The way Tyler spoke about Wilbur is how I have unfortunately seen some of my stalkers speak about me, and it brought up a lot of stuff for me, you know, and I was like, oh, I'm really freaked out and concerned. Tyler is a fan. Who
Come on,
sees
we
himself
only got about
basically
1 minute left.
above other fans of
Can I
Wilbur.
get?
And therefore he's different. And there is a
Can I get a
non-zero
bite?
chance that Wilbur will want to date Tyler because he had been on the Lovejoy, which is
Our next bite is Twitch Beard in the Mist
and had been
or Joan of
recognized
Trout.
by other fans at numerous shows. The story
I guess I'll try the
changed.
Twitch Beard.
Originally, it was like a 7-minute conversation 2 years ago. Or
That
something
monster.
Like that. And Tyler thought, "Oh, I don't
Me
get nervous around
alone.
anyone." But I was like blushing and nervous with Wilbur. Yeah, that's a celebrity crush. That's extremely normal. Tyler putting his feelings in like a different category, even for himself. It's like, no, this isn't parasocial. And it's like, okay, well, no, it is. And that's the concern, is that you don't see that it is. That's where my concern comes in, is the belief that it's different because it's you. And it's something that I have experienced. And the answer is no, it's not different.
I don't
'cause
want
it's you.
this.
You're not different. Another instance we're going to talk about, this happens a lot, unfortunately, with me, with men, with my male audience, because I've talked about very openly how I will not date a fan. And I will not date, like, another creator that's a talking head creator and things like that. Unfortunately, a lot of men in my audience think that it's like, okay, well, if she just met me, if I got in front of her, it'll be different. Because I'm different. And then it's not. And then they get irritated. That's happened a handful of times, and it's too often for me to ignore it. You know, it's
Yeah, I'm not gonna get this one. It closes in 3,
thankfully it's never turned
2,
aggressive.
1.
But I can see
Goodbye.
moments where I
All right.
or my friends are like, we need to get me the
Let's eat
fuck outta here."
these.
And it happens, and that's the problem.
Let's move
You're
on
not
to
above
the
program.
Mist.
You're not above the fandom. You're not above the concept of being a fan. Like everyone to some capacity is a fan of something. So it's very interesting. During lockdown, when my audience was first taking off, okay, I got to 100,000 subscribers by April or May of 2020, okay? When I started that year with like 6,000, I dealt with a lot of entitlement from my viewers. A lot of the restrictions that I have on with fan interactions now are in place from that time because everyone had time on their hands. And I get it. Content creators, I wouldn't have the audience I have, my job that I have, if you weren't watching this. But there was a level of demanding and attention seeking, not just from men, but from women as well, or femme presenting people, okay? That was really scary and out of fucking line. And unfortunately, in this current day now of 2026,
Okay, we need a spoon worm.
that behavior resurface. I see it in my emails. I see it in my DMs. I see it in my comment section.
Who are you? I'm about to catch you with my little fishing pole. You better be careful, girl.
And to your will, demanding that I recognize that I am dependent on one individual fan or something, that is alarming to me. And it's something that I'm assuming it has to do with the job market. I understand that in the current state of a war that Cheeto is forcing us into and impending economic collapse and things like that, that feeling out of control and being like, but I can get this YouTuber to do what I want, because I seem like someone who, as someone that is open to new information and changing opinions and things like that, you're not at risk of going to jail if you say something to me, let alone, if it's, you can't do the same thing with Trump. So I get it. The same way that during lockdown, when people are literally dying of COVID, friends, neighbors, grandma next door, the same feelings are present as they are now. That level of control needing, I understand it. And so that's where I'm giving these things grace by not responding, and I'm just telling myself, the journal factory must have exploded, because that's not my responsibility in a lot of these instances, is to placate these people in any capacity. I know everyone talks about, the entitlement of Gen Z and things like that. We were promised a lot of shit, and a lot of it's not happening. And every day, actively, it feels like things are getting worse. As far as Tyler goes as well, this is another instance of that video of confessing a crush. I also think there's this concept as well. There's a crush deficit currently. Like, there's a crush drought, if you will, okay? A a lot of people are dealing with like, I don't have crushes anymore or like anything like that. But also a crush by definition is often one-sided. It's not that other person's problem, unfortunately, if you have a crush on them. I've had, unfortunately, a few instances where I'm like, yeah, that's not my problem. Especially if it's a friend crush and things like that, you know, like that's not my problem. I'm so sorry. No. I think also because maybe Wilbur is famous by in this definition for this person, that this is the it's not a big deal that, you know, there's this public video about I have had a crush on this guy that I met one time for the last 3 years because I heard him giggle in another YouTuber's video, and it was like the world leaned in to listen is the line. And again, the whole video I was just like, ooh, is it harmful? No, but there's red flags in that whole video. There's also the fact that Tyler is trying to move to the UK,
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
where Wilbur is based. Now,
That's weird.
if I find out someone's
That's
trying to
weirdly.
relocate to Los Angeles or California specifically for me, I'm buying a gun. This is America, baby. I don't even like guns like that. I don't have one. I will get one if I find out that piece of
I thought you did have a gun.
wild. Tyler has been trying to move to the UK for a couple of years now, okay? And as recently as
Guess not.
2023, Tyler posted videos saying that he had a job lined up, actually, and that something fell through, and that's why he didn't go then, or there wasn't money now, because Tyler is fundraising to get people.
I think that whole job thing is a lot more complicated.
To the UK. He, in some of these videos, disclosed the job that he was supposedly getting.
Oh, yeah.
A job with Stuart Semple, who is an artist and is known for, at least that's how I became aware of Stuart Semple, for making things like the black is black, the pink is pink, a lot of like art like that, like painting materials, like to, you know, overtake Vanta Black and things like that. Apparently, Stuart Semple himself, I've seen the videos, has now come out and said,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not a job. Seemed like a nice kid, you know, was very excited, but no, I never, there was never an actual job offer. It was, yeah, if you can make it to the UK, we can have a discussion. And Tyler was sharing that as if it was a job offer. Now, this is a very specific instance,
Yes.
obviously, with Tyler, because now Tyler's like,
Okay.
oh, you're going through things that I...
This is me reacting to a reaction, whatever. But if he wants to go to England and he has his like GoFundMe and all of that stuff set up to go to the UK, how do you just do that and not have like a visa situation sorted out? Like, I know people who are married and want to move. Like, one person is from the UK and one person isn't, and they want to move to the UK, and it is very challenging for them just to make that happen because of like visa restrictions. So how are you, Tyler Catastrophe, gonna just get all this money from a GoFundMe and then move to the UK?
I've posted. Yeah, that's when you become the character of the week, they go through everything. And this, I saw someone yesterday say this is an instance of where Tyler should have just like, you know, privated your homepage and then moved on for a little bit, because a lot of the videos that I'm now seeing are videos that are people just downloading from Tyler's page and then re-uploading. I overshare strategically, you know, I'll overshare in a book, you know, I overshare because this is part of my job and there's relevant information there, you know, but I also am very aware that when I overshare, that's going to be on the internet forever. There are real world consequences for oversharing. As I said, my real life abusive parent contacted me because of that video. That's a reality.
Oh, okay.
There are real world consequences to sharing things like that.
I had a
like,
feeling that's what she was talking about, but
like an artist's name, and then they have to be like, people are
I guess I just didn't connect the dots completely.
There's probably definitely people bothering Wilbur. I heard your giggle and the world leaned in to listen right now. You know, the same way that when I talked last year about has everyone lost their mind? Still relevant question about the incidents of a stalker of Tanjiro's voice actor, and people were commenting on his social media quotes from that video of this person being removed from his meet and greet for stalking. Put it in the group chat. There have been plenty of instances where I've filmed a video and then I watch it back and I'm like, I gotta delete that.
I'm gonna catch you on my fishing line, girl.
Usually it's on TikTok. Usually it's an Instagram story. Very rarely is it a full YouTube video where I'm like, let me sleep.
She's just swimming in the ocean. Okay.
Let me do it again. Let me talk to a couple people.
Swimming back and forth, getting her swims in.
Let me re-edit this. You know, let me go back in and do some more work with it. That's a thing that you have to do when you're on the internet because everything can be forever. This is one where as well, I'm like, did the journal factory explode? Because this is a nothing issue. Both of these things I'm about to talk about are nothing issues, but they're being made into big issues, and one is being used as a way to be racist to a black author, and it's pissing me off. Hi. This weekend was 2 bookish events, BookCon in New York.
I don't know how to read, so
LA Festival of Books at USC here in LA. I went to the LA Festival of Books. I went for one day, and I was there for a couple of hours. It's a free event. It's great. I do recommend going if you can. And it was one of the reasons that people were pissed about the BookCon dates when they were announced, because it's like, oh, so all
okay,
these authors
Twitch
that would
beard
normally be at the LA Festival of Books
coming up soon.
are going to a paid event that's 100% going to be at capacity in New York instead. So there was a lot of irritation
Let's go.
on that. And then the video that's going around, this video has now been deleted. I was reading the comments on this, and this got so racist so quickly. There's a lot of things coming out of BookCon.
Fuck, I didn't use
Mostly it's
patience.
crowd related. Mostly it's line related. Either people having really bad times because there were a lot of expectations, or really good times because they didn't have any expectations and they were like, I just had fun and I did X, Y, and Z, you know. Everyone's experiences are valid. One creator posted a video of her saying that she had, let me see if I have the screenshot because this video has since been deleted. It was 2 girls saying that they had literally the rudest interaction from their favorite author ever at BookCon while they were flipping off the camera. And so people were like, drop names or we don't want to hear it. She's walking up to go talk to Tracy Dion, who is the author of Legendborn, and she hands her a sheet, okay, and starts talking about how she likes Legendborn, okay? And Tracy is looking at the sheet and is like, okay, where do you want me to sign this on here, okay? Because to her, it looks like a blank sheet of paper. And then the video cuts off after that, like, comment.
Ugh, that audio scared the fuck out of me. Man, why aren't you my Twitch beard?
I'm very curious if there's more footage of that, because, like, what happened after this, okay? But watching it, I was like, this is rude. The comment I have seen, because Tracy is a black woman, okay? The comment I've seen is, she didn't even smile. Now, I understand, as a reader myself, we can get very attached to books. We can get very attached to the written word, characters, stories that come from the author sitting in front of you. However, this again was a
Come on,
sign of
Twitch
not
beard. I
very
chose you over Joan of Trout.
from someone as well. And it's
I
not
chose you
even
over Joan of
anything
Trout.
negative. It's just, oh, that's not what I was expecting. Okay, which is valid. Her being bothered by this, her being upset, is a valid reaction. I think bringing it to the internet, that was excessive and unnecessary, and she eventually realized that because she took these videos down and posted a statement, which I'll read in a second. Especially because in some capacity, you knew that this would open Tracy up to the racist comments that she ended up getting in your comment section. The amount of people saying, I never wanted to read Legendborn, and now I know why. What? Like, is everyone spineless now, actually? You know, I'm so serious. It's fine to have an interaction that, like, is not worth it. As I mentioned earlier, there are plenty of people that think that they're going to meet me and we're going to become best friends. And sometimes we end up having a full conversation. There's been plenty of times, especially in the motorsport space, where I'm at a race with someone and, you know, we end up talking for a bit while we're in line getting food, you know, or we're at an event and we end up talking for a long time and they're like, no, this was great. We had like a real conversation, you know. And then there are also times where I'm being pulled somewhere by my friends, you know, or I'm trying to go meet someone, or I'm literally working for an event. I'm trying to document as much as I possibly can. And I got a tip on Twitter and I'm trying to go over there and I'm trying to get it. And you're going to get a shorter interaction. There's also been times where I've had someone walk up and they hand me a note and then they scurry off. And the note says that they saw me at other events and they were too anxious to come and talk to me. And so they decided that if they ever saw me again, they were going to give me a note. And so they gave me a note. It was very kind, very sweet. That happens a lot. There's drive-bys. I get people being like, hi, love your videos. Okay, bye. Because, you know, they've heard me talk about how awkward and anxious it can be when someone, you know, confronts me in public. You know, like I understand, especially in this environment of a signing, wanting to have that, you know, special interaction as well. That's not always going to happen. You're not always going to get that. I met Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. I was told it was going to be 2 seconds. They weren't even supposed to let us film. It was going to be a photo and that was it. Do you know what I did with that 2 seconds? Hey boys, we going to win this weekend? They didn't. And you know what? That's fine and dandy. Every interaction is different. Now, I'm not saying that this person that posted this doesn't have a right to feel, you know, slighted, but if you watch the interaction and you look at Tracy, she's not trying
It's
to be
here.
dismissive.
Oh, it's her. We're catching her.
Was handed to her. What apparently was going on when I heard this, because most book events I go to don't allow these, okay? They were book plates.
Yes, thank you, Twitch Beard. Oh, fantabulous.
Stickers that
Nice.
can sign on,
Okay.
so you don't have to carry around a stack
All
of
right.
books.
Remove that one from the list.
Fantastic. Most events that I've been
All right. I'm not going to be able to get Joan of Trout, so
something to sign, or
next on my list is
my brain goes to sports
Helmsman's
I've got jersey number 6.
thingamajig.
You sign this one, you know,
Back in Aleport.
There's been issues with people trying to resell arcs and books and things like that lately. So I'm shocked that book plates were allowed to begin with. But a bunch of authors from BookCon have been like, yeah, people were coming around with them, and a lot of them you couldn't see with the lighting that they were in where
Aleport.
one ended and one started. So
With a pill bug.
Probably trying to figure out
Give me a little pill bug. Okay.
so that it wouldn't cut off the signature, because then you waited in line.
Oh, who's that? Oh, that's just a bird, not anybody.
Legible for you for your book. So it's like, yeah, you may not have gotten that interaction, but she was trying to check in and lock in. And again, that video cut off. Where's the rest of that video? Was it normal after that? Was she was like, oh, you loved Legendborn, great. You know, like, what happened after that? It's weird that the video just cuts off all of a sudden, because you're still standing there. You have every right to feel frustrated about this interaction, because there's definitely times where someone has messaged me, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was so awkward, I wanted a photo. If you want a photo with me, you gotta ask for it, because my worst nightmare is the phrase, if I say, do you want a photo? And you go, no, why would I want a photo? I will just let the earth swallow me whole. So I'm never going to offer to take a photo with you unless you walk up with the phone. It's like, oh, did you want it? Like, unless you walk up with it ready to go and I can visibly see that you're trying to get a photo and you're like doing like the nudge. I'm not gonna ask that. And so they're having people, it's like, oh, I wanted a photo with you. It's like, I didn't get a photo with Swell Entertainment or something like that. And it's like, okay.
All right, I'm going to get a snack really fast.
I have no way of knowing that. You gotta ask, you know. There's this other one that we're gonna talk about in a second, is another one where I'm like, that one's, I don't know what to tell you. We've talked about in the current modern day of publishing, the demand of traditional authors to also be content creators, to market their own books. That's a thing that is happening. That's a new thing, though. Historically, I don't know, every piece of media I grew up with was like, yeah, authors were like cold assholes. Like is something that I grew up with. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. That's like a plot point in so many things. Like, yeah, this author that I adore is kind of an asshole. And again, I'm not saying that Tracy is an asshole. I want to make that abundantly clear. I don't know her. I'm saying Tracy like we're friends. Tracy Dion, okay? The expectation that like a book signing is going to be like a VidCon meet and greet is just not realistic. There's so many authors that I've met, whether in like a signing situation or just at an event, where I'm like, and I adore their work. I adore their work. And then I meet them and I'm like, oh, I get why you don't make public appearances now, you know? And it doesn't mean that I don't like their work. They weren't rude. They weren't toxic. They weren't a psycho. It was just like, oh, this is not where your skill lies. And that's wildly common. And I'm not even saying that Tracy doesn't have skills with talking with strangers, okay? But also BookCon, looking at those videos, I was overwhelmed. If you were waiting in line for 2 hours, that means that there was probably 2 hours of time passing of people like you, one after another, trying to have that same interaction with her. I was talking about this on stream. There's this lack of grace, just in general, in these instances, you know, where it's like, sometimes it's not a vindictive thing. Sometimes it's not like again, even then, watching this with a going in cold, watching this clip, I was like, that's tepid. That's neutral. This is not a rude interaction. I don't know how it was spun as rude because you didn't get what you want. I don't understand. Then we have this other one. This was at the Festival of Books. Seeing Stephanie Garber for a signing and her barely acknowledging me.
You're gonna have to keep it going, okay? I know, right?
There's been a few clips like that lately. There was one, God, was it Luann? I feel like it was a housewife or something. There's an old clip of Miley Cyrus, I think, where a girl goes and does the same thing, and then as she's walking away, she goes, bitch, about Miley. In the BookCon instance, that girl was trying to like verbalize, you know, herself, how much Legendborn means to her. And in these instances, and the instance I mentioned with Miley, they both just said hi. Hi. Hand over the thing. Yeah, have a good day, you know. That's it. And now in Stephanie Garber's thing, she has an event. She's at a table with a couple other people, and she is talking to someone. But also, as the video clip starts, you hear one of the organizers be like, hey guys, we gotta wrap it up. Like I said, it was a free event. There was a lot of people. That one's not a big deal. And I will say the comment sections on that one, a lot more measured. Notice something different between Tracy Dion and Stephanie Garber. I'm not supposed to say racism when I see racism. Like, this is the reply from the girl who posted the video of Tracy Dion. To clear things up, I brought clear book plates to have signs so I can insert them later into my books, is what the caption says. Hi everyone, thank you for your comments, support, and insights. I took some time to sit with this before speaking. As a Black woman, it's important to me to not tear down another Black woman. This was never about that. I understand she may have been tired or overwhelmed, and I respect that, especially because I was feeling the same thing that day. At the same time, I want to be honest about my experience. I'm not an anomaly. I'm not expecting to monopolize anyone's time, but even a small acknowledgement, like a small okay, can go a long way. That's the standard I believe should apply across the board. I also want to be clear, I don't support or welcome any anti-Black or hateful commentary in this space. That was never my intention in sharing this. My hope is that this opens up a conversation about treating everyone with kindness, no matter how small the interaction may seem. I have talked about a lot of people's first events being like a bookish event lately, because the new voracious, pocket of readers that we are seeing post-lockdown. And so there's a lot of expectations in a lot of these things as well. For a book signing like that, and some other authors have said, we had a time slot, there was an author right after me. So it doesn't matter if the line is that long. When that time slot ends, she has to get up from that table.
When I was at BookCon, I did a panel, a post-panel signing, and a general signing, back to back to back. And that was my first ever event as an author. And what I have learned from that is that when you're doing these things at an event, you need to lock the fuck in and you need to multitask like you have never multitasked before. There were a lot of times in both of my signings where my publicist would turn to me and say, you need to go faster, because I was too busy like yapping with everyone and like getting to meet everyone. But I totally get it, because there's a long ass line and you need to go through everyone. And there is an hour time limit for most of these signings. And a lot of times there is an event happening at the same table, or like another author needs to come into that table by the time that your hour is up.
This is not an unkind interaction, is my point as well. Like, kindness, regardless of how small the interaction is, sure, that was not an unkind interaction. Posted another video, and this one again, she was like, hey guys, printer paper girl, because people were like, why did you hand her a piece of printer paper? And the whole video, again, defends Tracy, acknowledges that as a Black woman, I would never want this towards another Black woman. But then she goes on to explain that this was her first bookish event, and she only met two authors, Tracy and another author she does not identify. And that this other author did the exact same thing Tracy did, which was, as she is talking about her book and her love of this book, she pauses her to ask for clarification on the book plates, the same way Tracy did. But when Tracy does, even the wording as when she is speaking of Tracy, she says, Tracy interrupted me, when she interrupted me, versus this other author who's like, it was fine, we moved on, and da-da-da-da. She also explains more of the interaction and explains that she felt dismissed because the handler, like the person that was monitoring the line for, keeping the line moving for Tracy, took her book plate and took the next person's book plate and put it next to hers in front of Tracy, and she felt dismissed. She also says that while they took her phone from her friend was originally going to film for her, before that, they had also taken her book plates to prepare them for Tracy, which means you knew exactly what was going to happen. The line also in this that I thought was crazy is she's like, when it's from someone, it's a microaggression. When it comes from a black woman, it's rude. In regards to not smiling at her, and like kept kind of emphasizing the smile. I'll link this down below. She brings up again, this should be, I want more from book events. This should be, you should look at this and be like, we should all want better. Again, I think this was a journal situation. I think this was a group chat situation. There's been plenty of times that I've gone into a group chat and I'm like, I just had this weird experience with so-and-so. And I've talked a lot about, you know, instances.
All right, here we go.
Being really weird.
Helmsman's, whatever that is. Helmsman's hand.
I've talked about this before for various events where people were dismissive
Damn it.
with me.
I forgot patience again. Oh, but this is for 17 minutes. Okay, we can get this. We can get this.
Or they Google me and their vibe totally shifts. Is it shitty? Yes. Do I take note of that? Absolutely. Do I?
And then we have the King of Spring.
Probably know who they are. No, because that's not that big of a deal. It's something that that's not.
Oh, well.
Something that needs to be shared. It's something that I talk about.
I have the pill bug, right?
It's something that I write about in my journal. It's something that I talk about with friends or on stream for, you know, months later. You posted videos of you flipping off the camera about this person, and then you posted this. She didn't fling the book plate back at you. Like this is not a big deal. Did the journal factory explode? The Tyler thing, I'd put your account on private for a little bit and let this blow over, frankly, because the more videos people find, the worse it's getting.
Oh no, I shouldn't have used that.
Way longer than I thought it was going to be. Thank you so much for watching. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. My launch is now available on Spotify. Reminder to go Girly Pop Go if you'd like some more car and motorsport content. Shout out to my channel members. Thank you so much.
All right, let's learn about destroying your career in 14 months as Pam Bondi.
The question.
Answer my question.
No. Have you apologized to President Trump?
I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer. It's not even a lawyer.
Oh.
On the afternoon of November 13th, 2024, not even 2
But this guy has like the super YouTuber voice.
allowed him to reclaim the White House. President-elect
The
Donald
White
Trump is
House.
flying aboard his own Trump Force One on a trip back from Washington.
From Washington.
2 hours meeting with then President Joe Biden, who assured a peaceful transfer of power would commence as planned on January 20th, wasting the opportunity
want
to do
this.
the funniest thing ever, in my opinion. Thus,
I want the
Trump was
green
left
one.
with the task of filling out his cabinet. He had been announcing picks all week through emails sent out to the media by his transition team, though it was on this flight that a critical 2-hour conversation.
I don't want fishes that can go in canvases. I want fishes that can go in
Attorney General, discussing the matter with some of his top
aquariums.
officials, which included the likes of Elon Musk, Susie Wiles, and his top legal advisor Boris Epstein. A decision was finally made. By the time the plane touched down in West Palm Beach, the news was already out, delivered not by his transition team, but by the president-elect himself on Truth Social. It was announced that Trump's first pick for the nation's top law enforcement official would be none other than Matt Gaetz, a Florida congressman and an unshakable defender of the MAGA movement. Oh yeah, and also an alleged sexual predator. Predictably, the pick sent
Alleged.
shockwaves throughout the press. Gaetz had not only made a name for himself as one of Trump's most colorful and controversial advocates.
He looks like he likes a good
The
P&P.
Justice Department, the one he would be theoretically leading, had investigated him for child sex trafficking
Well.
without charges in 2023. But Gaetz was also subject to a bipartisan House Ethics Committee investigation that later found substantial evidence that he had had sex with a 17-year-old girl in 2017. As reported by the New York Times, the victim in question was a high school junior in Florida, working at McDonald's and living in and out of a homeless shelter. She had resorted to having sex with powerful men for money so that she may be able to afford braces. This was all going to be a problem for Gaetz, who, in order to join the new administration, would first need to get confirmed by a simple majority vote in the Senate. Although the Republicans enjoyed a slim majority, the question of whether or not enough members would be willing to set aside their morals to appoint an alleged pedophile as Attorney General was unclear. Senators like Tommy Tuberville and Lindsey Graham may have alluded to votes in the affirmative, but others like Lisa
What a
Murkowski,
surprise. What a surprise, Lindsey Graham.
spoilers. And when intervention from the president's chief loser failed to yield any results, the writing on the wall became clear. Matt Gaetz was considered too evil for even the most evil administration in modern history. So out stepped a Florida man and in stepped a Florida woman to fill his spot. The reported godmother to Gates' Australian Shepherd mix, who sure may not be accused of committing sordid crimes herself, but is certainly
Oh, I forgot to sit. I forgot to sit. No! You motherfucker.
Failure to meet the deadline to release all, that's what the law requires, all of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna and Republican Congressman Thomas Massie, they authored the law, announced late last night that they will bring inherent contempt charges against Attorney General Pam Bondi. In a statement, Khanna called the DOJ's failure to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, quote, an obstruction of justice, unquote.
This video is about Pam Bondi, one of the president's fiercest attack dogs, who made a name for herself by going after leaders who refused to comply with the president's hardline immigration agenda, threatening those who spoke ill of the president and his allies, and most notoriously, doing everything in her power to discredit and humiliate victims of one of the most prolific human traffickers and child sex offenders in American history. Amidst claims that this is somehow the most transparent administration to ever exist, Pam Bondi's Justice Department has been anything but. Join me as we explore the 14 months Miss Bondi spent atop the most consequential law enforcement body in the nation, how she misused her position and power to protect those who most egregiously violated the law, and how future historians will look back on her reprehensible legacy. It's a legacy of failure, of cover-ups, and blatant disrespect of the victims she once vowed to protect, offering redactions on top of redactions, re-releasing documents that had already been made public, and deflecting from the real concerns people have by screeching about how well the stock market is doing.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000.
She thinks she ate with that one, huh?
Right after she said that, the Dow fell below 50,000, and now Pam Bondi is out of a job.
Bondi is now the second cabinet official to be fired following Kristi Noem's ouster as DHS secretary last month.
State's top cop was in Ocala today talking to supporters about everything from human trafficking to pill mills.
Yeah, Republican Attorney General Pam Bondi is running to keep her job.
Born on November 17th, 1965, Pamela Jo Bondi was raised in the humid suburbs of Temple Terrace, Florida, alongside her sister Beth and her brother Brad. A close-knit family, all signs point to the Bondi siblings having a pretty standard childhood, one that doesn't exactly warrant a lot of mention outside the fact that their father Joseph served 2 terms as mayor of their town in the 1970s. He had been a college professor at the University of South Florida prior to running for office, with most of her other relatives also pursuing careers in the education field. Pam personally expressed an interest in becoming a pediatrician at first, but she was so horrible at math, real, that when she entered college, she wasn't quite sure what she wanted to do other than join Tri-Delta. Go Dolphins. Despite getting her bachelor's in criminal
That's
justice and aiming
disgusting.
for a law degree, Pam Bondi never actually saw herself practicing law, much less becoming a prosecutor. That is until the state attorney, who happened to attend church with the Bondis, convinced her to sign up for a clinic at her law school. In hindsight, I think he and my dad had conspired, she told Elysian magazine shortly after becoming Attorney General of Florida. When you do that, you actually work in a public defender's office or a state attorney's office. I chose the state attorney's office. At the time, I thought, this is the last thing I want to do. And within a month, I was trying cases. I tried 4 jury trials when I was still in law school. Since that time, I never wanted to do anything else. Perhaps it was this opportunity that allowed her to get a sense of what it was like to deal closely with some of society's most vulnerable people, pulling her in a direction of wanting to uplift others. In her own words, I wasn't even sure I wanted to practice until I did that internship. For me, it was all about victims and helping people. And to the state attorney's office,
Really?
where she remained for the next 18 years. working as a prosecutor.
The irony.
She loved every second of it. Eventually, she says enough people had begun approaching her about running for attorney general. It was a tough decision since she already had enough cases to handle as it was. Still, she thought she could really revive the broken system she saw in Tallahassee and decided to pull the trigger. I just thought the system needed to be changed, she said. I thought I could make a difference.
This is no place for on-the-job training. I'm Pam Bondi. For 18 years as a prosecutor, I've taken on criminals who scam, terrorize, and kill. Because if you and I don't stand up now, who will?
Pam Bondi, a prosecutor.
Who will?
Attorney General.
Traveling the state for campaign events, Bondi grew even more accustomed to the plight of average Floridians that were struggling, which she says only fueled her desire to help them. I started learning that 7 Floridians were dying a day, every day, from prescription drug overdose, and nothing had been done about it. I thought, wow, I think I can make a difference here. And everywhere I went to speak to groups, whether it was an affluent country club or a county center where women and men of all different ages and demographics were there, I would also address domestic violence. And after every single talk, someone would quietly come up to me and tell me that they were abused and some had been scared to
This sounds very leftist.
Maybe I can make a difference here.
Caring about women?
An opportunity to make that difference would come when Bondi successfully pulled off a victory and was sworn in as Florida's 37th Attorney General on January 4th, 2011.
She said she received a call from her opponent, conceding minutes before she addressed this crowd.
Dan called. He was very gracious. I believe he's in Miami tonight with his family. We had a great talk. We had a talk about being bipartisan, getting things done in Tallahassee, which is going to be very, very important. And we respect each other, and I think that's very important.
And thus, Attorney General Pam Bondi was off to the races. And much like the early career of Kristi Noem, I shouldn't have to tell you that Pam Bondi spent the next 8 years doing pretty much everything you would expect of a right-wing official. Being the top law enforcement officer in one of the reddest states in the nation, Bondi fearlessly fought the crooked and immoral forces of medical marijuana and marriage equality for gay and lesbian Floridians. Specifically, at the beginning of her tenure, fighting hard to maintain Amendment 2, which outlawed gay marriage across the state in 2008. She argued at the time that allowing same-sex marriage would cause serious public harm and insisted it was her duty to uphold the ban and would do so until the issue reached its finality. Her tune miraculously changed, however, following the devastating Pulse nightclub shooting in 2016.
Oh, in what way?
Overnight, decided that it was actually more advantageous to become an advocate for the LGBTQ community, which led her to be grilled by Anderson Cooper as a hypocrite.
I saw you the other day saying that anyone who attacks the LGBT community, our LGBT community, you said, will be gone after with the full extent of the law. I talked to gay and lesbian people here yesterday who are not fans of yours and who said that they thought you were being a hypocrite. Do you worry about using language accusing gay people of trying to do harm to the people of Florida when doesn't that send a message to some people who might have bad ideas in mind?
Anderson, I don't believe gay people could do harm to the state of Florida.
But you argued that in court.
My lawyer argued a case defending what the Supreme Court allowed the voters to put in our state constitution.
But you were arguing the gay marriage, if there was gay marriage, if there was same-sex
Oh, girl, put that egg on your face and make a scrambled egg.
Are you saying you did not believe it would do harm to Florida?
Of course not. Of course not. Gay people. No, I've never said that. Those words have never come out of my mouth.
But that is specifically what you were arguing in court.
You know, no.
I mean, even
No,
here,
no,
you could
no.
see her honing the catharsis and deflection she'd used to her full advantage a decade later when it was time to defend pedophiles.
No.
Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin.
Oh,
Americans' 401
who's Raskin?
retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about.
Are you sure?
Talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
But it wasn't just gay
Are you
marriage she
kidding?
fought. Bondi also also generated headlines at the time for an attempt to end protections for people with pre-existing health conditions when she joined 19 other Republican states.
Am I not gonna get this helmsman's shop?
A move that was so extreme that even caused Florida's then governor Rick Scott, a biological descendant of Skeletor, I'm pretty sure, to distance himself. A very vocal critic of Obamacare, Scott, who was in the middle of running for U.S. Senate at the time, emphasized the importance of keeping pre-existing
It looks like a
conditions
skeleton.
as a part of any healthcare reform. The Orlando Sentinel editorial board also reported on a string of Bondi's other legal efforts in this piece, such as her 2015 effort to overturn Obama's Clean Power Plan designed to reduce heat-trapping carbon emissions. Though Florida is among the states most vulnerable to sea level rise and other consequences of climate change, the Sentinel pointed out, this was in addition to another lawsuit she joined that year, one that targeted federal rules intended to enhance protection of wetlands, which Florida kinda has a lot of. And in 2014, she joined several other GOP attorneys general in condemning Connecticut's ban of certain kinds of semi-automatic weapons in the wake of the Sandy Hook shooting, which I think tells you right there how serious she was about delivering justice to the Pulse nightclub victims. But as she stated before, one of the key reasons
that
Bondi
part.
entered law enforcement to begin with was a desire to do right by victims. And in 2013, she
Well, that's what she said.
just that.
But is that what she did?
A new effort to end human trafficking in the state of Florida. Now, of course, her efforts weren't exactly the most sweeping and were mostly limited to an ad campaign that put billboards along streets, inside malls, and on bus shelters to merely raise awareness of human trafficking, providing constituents with a tip sheet about internet safety and a pledge for children to sign and print. All while another character in this story continued to wander around Florida at his leisure, but we'll get into him later.
I'm not going to do anything based on what a poll says is the best thing to do, and I'm not concerned about my long-term political health.
Bondi was in fact so passionate about fighting human trafficking that in 2014 she put together a whole campaign ad for her second term that focused on the matter heavily. And let's just say it's aged about as well as you think it has.
Florida ranks 3rd nationally in calls for help for human trafficking, where young women and children are enslaved and abused. I knew we needed all hands on deck. Businesses and hospitals to spot it, our great law enforcement to stop it, and tougher penalties to punish it. We're taking on Medicaid fraud, pill mills, gangs, and more. And I'll fight to put human trafficking monsters.
Why is Medicaid for? I mean, okay, whatever. I guess.
Pam Bondi, our Attorney General.
But I guess she was desperate to talk about anything that might divert attention away from a previous scandal that prompted a ton of negative press the previous year. See, in 2013, New York State Attorney General filed a lawsuit against, you ready for a jump scare? Donald Trump.
At Trump University, we teach success. That's what it's all about. Success. It's going to happen to you.
Accusing Trump University of engaging in persistent, fraudulent, illegal, and deceptive conduct.
Yeah, this helmsman's shop is not gonna be mine tonight, it seems. Let's give one last mooch.
A formal investigation, a decision that came shortly after a check for $25,000 was written.
Okay, we'll try the King of the Spring, and then I think that'll be it. We'll try King of Spring.
She told the Tampa Bay Times in 2016 that I never, nor was my office, investigating him. Never. I would never lie. I would never take money. I've been so obviously devastated over this. I'm sure. But the New York Times reports that Florida had been receiving complaints about Trump University since 2008.
You got to be kidding.
About 24 by the time Bondi
You motherfucking bitch.
although her office had previously stated that
Goodbye.
I guess she just decided not to, completely independent of the generous
Goodbye.
Trump Foundation.
Camp Overlook.
She had apparently already sought his support earlier that summer and received a smaller donation of $500 from the real estate mogul around the same time her team was debating whether or not
That's so abhorrent. So abhorrent.
whatever Pam wants to say now. In September,
Can I go fishing here?
the IRS determined the donation was illegal. Bondi wasn't criminally charged, but Trump was ordered to cough up a small fine. And just one more fun fact about this little episode is that Bondi wasn't the only attorney general to receive
Spinnerbait.
$25,000 from Trump in 2013, the California AG had also opted not to investigate Trump University following a donation. Her name was Kamala Harris. But the episode showed that Pam Bondi may
You think you fell out of a coconut tree?
advocating for victims. Clearly, she had other ambitions. And in 2018, as her second term was coming to an end, she had begun to show a new kind of interest. Not necessarily in locking up bad guys, but instead elevating herself to celebrity status. As the Tampa Bay Times reported in August of that year, Pam Bondi had set her criminal justice duties to the side for multiple days to co-host The Five on Fox News. Just because she wanted to, I guess? The move was so bizarre and unprecedented that Bondi had to get permission from the Florida Commission on Ethics, which supposedly cleared Pam Bondi to appear as a co-host of The Five and travel to New York. But that's just according to Fox. As the Times reported, Commission spokeswoman Carrie Stillman said that no opinion had been rendered before Bondi made the trip up north for her big TV host debut. Perhaps, as the Times speculated, it was an audition of sorts. As she began looking for her next job, cable television seemed to be one potential landing spot. Instead of using the platform to discuss matters affecting her constituents, such as the renewed fight over stand your ground laws or the opioid crisis ravaging the state, the Times needled Bondi for opining on topics ranging from the Robert Mueller investigation and the murder of an Iowa jogger to new animal cracker boxes, whether kids should walk the dog alone, and colleges that ban snowball fights. I have not had much experience with snowballs, Bondi said on the latter, but I mean, we can only go so far. We're taking the fun out of everything and we're going over the top. Come on. Laser focused on the real issues facing America. Even Sean Hannity congratulated her on this weird trial run.
Okay, we got 7 minutes.
But hosting a primetime show is not where Bondi would end up. We already know what she did for a job in 2025, but what about that strange, awkward period in between? The former attorney general had to do something to put food on the table. Did she go into a field that would allow her to help people like she said she always wanted to do? Well, yes. If lobbying for foreign nations and private prisons counts as helping people. The New York Times reports that even while she was Attorney General of Florida, she had what one lobbyist called a business-friendly attitude. Her office had reportedly developed a habit of meeting with lawyers whose clients, Herbalife and a for-profit college chain called Bridgeport Education, had been targeted with investigations in other states. I guess they didn't need to worry about that kind of targeting under Bondi's watch, so maybe it wasn't too surprising when, in early 2019, Pam Bondi herself joined a lobbying group by the name of Ballard Partners, a firm with extensive ties to Donald Trump. The firm itself was launched shortly after Trump's first inauguration as a means to capitalize on his election, as reported by Mother Jones, which notes that Bondi had helped Ballard lobby the White House on behalf of clients such as General Motors, Major League Baseball, and even the government of Qatar, which is said to have paid her $115,000 a month, according to
Oh my
the Senate
god.
Judiciary Committee. Her role,
Bro, I can't even make over $3,000 a month, and you get 115,000?
record in advance of hosting the 2022 World Cup. Per the U.S. State Department, that record includes, but is not limited to, enforced disappearance, arbitrary arrest, political prisoners, serious restrictions on free expression, restrictions on freedom of movement, serious and unreasonable restrictions on political participation, extensive gender-based violence, existence of laws criminalizing consensual same-sex sexual conduct, and more. Wow, Pam, you really came a long way from, what was it again? Caring all about victims and helping people. By the way, I guess her efforts were successful enough because Qatar did in fact end up hosting the World Cup in 2022. So mission accomplished. Impressive stuff. Though maybe not as impressive as her record defending and lobbying for American mega corporations like Amazon and Uber, both extremely well known for their incredible treatment of workers. Public records also showed she had lobbied the White House and the Department of Homeland Security on behalf of the Geo Group, a private prison firm that benefits from massive contracts with the Justice Department. It's hard to get into specifics when it comes to Bondi's
But no,
shady lobbying
Tormish,
work,
we will
since the
not
founder of Ballard Partners,
look for you
Brian
today.
Ballard, conveniently could not recall any specific task tasks that Miss Bondi took up for these large corporate clients, reports the New York Times. Similarly, representatives for Amazon, Uber, and GM declined to discuss her work in any detail or said they could not recall any work she did. Geo Group did not respond to requests for comment, the outlet stated, but Geo Group did seem very excited for the potential of Trump's plan for mass deportations at a quarterly call in May 2025. Their then CEO, J. David Donahue, telling investors the company is very excited to support the mission at hand. And that excitement certainly wasn't unwarranted, because in February 2026, the new CEO, George Zoli, was happy to announce that in 2025, we made significant progress towards meeting our financial and strategic objectives. We entered into new or expanded contracts, which are expected to generate up to approximately $520 million in annualized revenues, making it the most successful year for new business wins in our company's history, all while their former lobbyists sat atop the highest law enforcement agency in the country. Fascinating. All this work undoubtedly helped Bondi gain entree to the president, but what really sent her above and beyond was the role she assumed during and after his first round of impeachment hearings. Being brought on as a special advisor in November 2019, Bondi proved herself a willing defender of the president's corruption by leaning into conspiracy theories and doing all she could to deflect from the issue at hand. In a manner so stilted and half-hearted, it was mocked by The Daily Show.
The Norway trip was June of 2015. He remained on the board until
What is this?
April of 2019.
She was also laughed at for claiming Joe Biden going on fishing trips with his son Hunter was in itself evidence of corruption.
And we clearly know that he had a very fancy job description, and he did none of those things. He attended 1 or 2 board meetings, one in Monaco, and then he went on a fishing trip with Joe Biden's family in Norway. The entire time, Joe Biden knows that this oligarch is corrupt.
You can tell she's always been
Oligarch? She's using the word oligarch?
Her arguments had
Are you fucking kidding me?
charges against Trump under the articles of impeachment. Instead, her job is to change the subject. While her deflections may have
Okay,
fallen short
girl.
in the eyes of Congress, Trump having been impeached twice despite his legal team's best efforts, the president deemed her important enough to keep around a little longer. And by the time the fraudulent results of the 2020 election were being finalized in November, Bondi had taken on a new role in Trump world, stopping the steal. At an infamous news conference in Philadelphia on November 4th, 2020, the one accidentally hosted at Four Seasons Total Landscaping as opposed to the Four Seasons Hotel, Bondi told a crowd of rabid Trumpers that we've won Pennsylvania and we want every vote to be counted in a fair way.
For every vote that came in late, that was postmarked late, that discounts every legal vote that came in.
Yep.
So that means all the good residents who are all supporting us in Pennsylvania, their votes don't count by these fake ballots that are coming in late.
What,
and back to
Pam?
the observation, they're not letting us watch the process.
Pam, did you just say fake ballots?
There could be. That's the problem. If they're letting,
Do
we
you have
don't
any
know, Steve.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did know, but that didn't stop her from spreading the false claims anyway, that voter fraud was happening around the country, namely in states like Georgia and Wisconsin. Someone of her stature and background should have known damn well there was no evidence to back up her claims. It's almost like she was just saying whatever might earn the approval of the president. At least that's what ended up happening when she was awarded a seat at the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts Board of Trustees that December. The Palm Beach Post reported at the time that Bondi was
What do you even do in that job?
Trump devotees rewarded for their loyalty with positions on government advisory boards and commissions. Another name appointed alongside Bondi was Paolo Zampoli. You might know Zampoli as the Italian modeling scout credited for introducing Donald to Melania in 1998, and who had also tried to buy a modeling agency with another longtime fixture of the president's inner circle. You know who I'm referring to. It's Jeffrey Epstein. I talked about Zampoli over on my second channel a couple weeks ago, which you can subscribe to right now down below, by the way, and his successful attempt to deport the mother of his child to Brazil, a woman who once worked as a
All right, no king of the spring for me today.
at age 16.
How
It really is one big club, isn't it? The New Yorker reports
disappointing.
that not even the insurrection on January
How
6th
disappointing.
lessened her support of
Well,
Donald Trump. In
that will
2021,
conclude our fishing foray for today.
2 years
So,
later, after Trump was indicted for trying to in
goodbye.
Georgia, Bondi told Hannity that once Trump returned to office, the Department of Justice, the prosecutors will be prosecuting